Mother's Day to all the mothers. Everyone's looking very good today. So I recently went to the Minister's Continuing Education seminar this past week. And so we were discussing about Dharma talks and how to give effective ones. And so one of the lecturers who was leading one of the workshops, they said, yeah, I have a really bad habit of speaking, way too fast, which admittedly I do too. I know, especially when, I get in my head, and really I should write stuff down. But when I start going off stuff that's inside my head, it comes out like quickly, like faster than my mouth can kind of like keep up. So I tend to speak very quickly. So one of the tricks that they said was, yeah, if you pick out somebody in the audience and then just try to speak to them. So one of the ministers said, like, yeah, I'll find, like a young child, and so I'll look at them every once in a while and I'll see. And another one said, well, I'll look and find somebody who's kind of elderly that maybe is hard of hearing and look to see if they're following along. So who listens real slow here? And does anyone listen real slow? No, so in the back? Okay, all right. So then I'm speaking to you then. Another thing that one of the ministers did was when I was in Placer last week for their Kotane, our guest speaker was the bishop, Reverend Marvin Harada. And so the first thing that he did was he said, is anyone here for the first time? Is there anyone here for the first time? So is there anyone here for the first time? Because I like that. No? Nobody here? Okay. Yes? Oh, somebody. All right. Very good. So, since there's somebody here, real quick, we are here at the Sacramento Buddhist Church. We are a Jodo Shinshu form of Buddhism, which is a Japanese form of Pure Land Buddhism. We believe in our object of worship is Amida Buddha, which is the embodiment of wisdom and compassion. So not actually like a person, but rather a representation for infinite wisdom and compassion surrounds us and supports us all times. And our founder, Shinran Shonin, taught us to listen to the call of Amida Buddha, telling us to awaken within our heart the heart of compassion, to listen to that by reflecting on ourselves, to see the sacrifices of all the people around us, supporting us, as well as our own selfish nature in spite of all of that. So in doing so, having this transformative experience and then moving forward, living a life where we constantly pay gratitude and homage to that experience. Okay, so how's my speed so far? Okay, all right, I'll try to keep it slow. All right, okay. I would like to open with a poem. So this poem is called A Mother's Love by Helen Steiner Rice. So if you will bear with me, I'll now read this poem to you. A mother's love is something that no one can explain. It is made of deep devotion and of sacrifice and pain. It is endless and unselfish and enduring come what may, for nothing can destroy it or take that love away. It is patient and forgiving when all others are forsaking, and it never fails or falters, even though the heart is breaking. It believes beyond believing when the world around condemns, and it glows with all the beauty of the rarest, brightest gems. It is far beyond defining. It defies all explanation, and it remains a secret like the mysteries of creation. A many-splendored miracle man cannot understand, and another wondrous evidence of God's tender guiding hand. So that last line says God in it, but just kind of ignore that. But but I thought that was a really nice poem, kind of explaining a mother's love. Especially this first aspect of it, where it's made of this deep devotion and of sacrifice and pain. And typically when people think of their mothers and like Mother's Day, it's all flowers and it's happy and very sort of appreciative and enjoying of your mother's love, all of the things that she's done for you. However, at the root of that, at the heart of that, is really actually a lot of suffering and pain. And this is, I think, a very, I don't know if uniquely, but idiosyncratic of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, where it's important for us to recognize the sacrifices of the people around us. And it's not only that which is enough, but it's also important for us to reflect upon ourselves. So when we reflect upon ourselves about all of the sacrifices around us that the people have made, it's also important for us to see how we are kind of undeserving of all of that effort. So this is especially true for our relationship with our parents. So the Buddha in one of the sutras talks about people who are impossible to repay. And so the Buddha says, I tell you monks, there are two people who are not easy to repay. Which two? Your mother and father. Even if you were to carry your mother on one shoulder and your father on the other shoulder for 100 years, and were you to look after them by anointing, massaging, bathing, rubbing their limbs, and if they were to, so I edited this a little bit, go to the bathroom. If they were to go to the bathroom on your shoulders, you would not in any way pay or repay your parents. If you were to establish your mother and father in absolute sovereignty over this great earth, so if you literally made them rulers of the world, you would not in that way pay or repay your parents. Why is that? Mother and father do much for their children. They care for them, they nourish them, they introduce them to this world. And then so he goes on to say that the best thing for a child to do for their parents is if they are unbelieving in the Dharma to then turn them to the Dharma. And that's the best way that you can repay all the things that they've done for you. But I think everyone here, right, you're probably at least a little bit believing in the Dharma since you're coming in here. So there's not so much something that kids can do for their parents because it's already been done already. So you're out of luck, sorry. But nevertheless, as I mentioned, reflecting on ourselves and recognizing how we are just completely undeserving of this parents' love, how much we give them a hard time, and then that experience is actually what is central to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So this aspect of realizing how your mother was fantastic and how you were kind of a jerk to her, then that is what allows us to have this transformative experience in our lives. So to give an example from my own life, growing up, I was very fortunate that my mom was able to make breakfast for me every morning. So she would wake up really early and she would make all, not just one thing, but a bunch of different dishes. She would make hot cocoa and stuff, and so she would put that out for us. And so when we'd make up, all we'd have to do is come down, eat breakfast, and then we could, go to school. So I was really lucky, and I recognize now, being a parent, how much effort that takes. If you're gonna actually make something, you gotta get up real early. It's early enough for me to wake up and throw some, toaster waffles into the toaster. But to actually go and make a full-on meal is just incredible. But that's definitely not how I felt as a teenager in my parents' house. I would wake up and I'll come down and then just basically complain, oh, we have cream of wheat again? Which it takes a long time to make cream of wheat. I don't know. Does anyone eat that anymore? Yeah? Okay. All right. Yeah. So cream of wheat, again. And I kind of got a taste for it because I ate it so much, but as a kid, I didn't care for it. Complaining about everything, just, did you burn the bottom of the hot cocoa? Now it tastes like smoke. And did you have to put bananas in the pancakes? Just make the pancakes how they make them at IHOP. So I, just complaining the whole time for all of this effort that my mom did, slaving over the stove to make this wonderfully nutritious breakfast for me so that, I could pay attention in school. But I didn't care about, any of that. So just sort of reflecting on that and myself, I recognize, how not necessarily, terrible of a person, but how ungrateful, really, I was of all of this effort that my mother gave to me. And in understanding that and recognizing how much she did, it made me want to, change my own life. Not necessarily with, my mom, because it would be weird for me to show up expecting breakfast at her house and then be grateful for it, but rather to pay it forward, right? I think that's all we can really do. It's impossible for us to pay back our parents, to pay back all the people who took care of us growing up, and so then it becomes our responsibility, and it becomes it naturally to pay it forward, right? If we have this experience of understanding who we were before, how much we gained and how much we didn't deserve it, then moving forward, it allows us to then put that effort into paying forward all of the wonderful things that were given to us. So, I do my best to try to be there, for my kids, try to have, breakfast and stuff for them. I always think about, how much my mom did and how I can then do something for my kids that when they grow up and they recognize like, oh, I was kind of a jerk to dad. Maybe not, but at least, I can give them something that for me, it makes me happy to be able to pay forward the love that my mother gave to me. And in doing so, continuing to perpetuate that infinite wisdom and compassion that I talked about. So our Buddha is the Buddha of immeasurable life. And when people think about that, they think of, I think, immortality. However, rather than one single life that is continuing forever, it's this life that continues to cycle within each and every one of us. So the life of a plant that dies goes to nourish the next plant that grows from the soil that it nourishes with its decomposing body. And in the same way, each of us get so much life from the people who have cared for us. And with that life, it's up for us to then continue it moving forward. And this is the heart of the Buddha of immeasurable life. So today, on this Mother's Day, and hopefully, for the rest of the year, let's take some special time to appreciate our mothers, the people who brought us into this world, and in doing so, not just paying it back, but paying it forward to all the people that we have in our lives, the opportunity to spread that same kind of love. If you could please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.